Greetings and salutations. Happy Friday, everyone. It is Friday, July 23rd, 2021. My name is Jeff, and welcome to The Jolt. This is a little YouTube channel I started, kind of coincides with my personal blog, thejolt.net. It's been kind of quiet on the UFO, UAP home front lately. Like the media hustle and bustle's died down. There's nothing new coming out lately. So, I mean, it's only been since June 25th is when the task force report came out, the preliminary report. So, I mean, it's only been a month. Really can't expect too much, I suppose. Some cool things to note, though, is that there are some articles popping out about, older cases, being, I used the term a couple of weeks ago, regurgitated. But you know what? It's actually a benefit because I've read up on several cases that I've heard about before, but got new information out of them. So I'm not sure of the veracity of the new information. Hopefully it's true and just more detailed, and that it's not, someone embellishing. We never know what we're going to get in this topic, huh? That's the other thing too, is so much of it is speculation. And unfortunately, especially when we're dealing with witness testimony, we have to sometimes rely on speculation. It is what it is. I'm kind of used to it. And you can, filter through, I think, to really find what has merit and what doesn't. This week, I released a new article on thejolt.net called A History of UFOs in the Gulf of Mexico. I decided to get a little focused on what's going on in my own backyard, so to speak. I live on the coast of Florida, along the Gulf, and I started just doing some research, on local stuff here. And well, when I say local, it's not just here in my part of Florida, but just around the Gulf of Mexico, the whole coastline. Started down in Guantanamo Bay. I mean, in 1968 to 69, this one Marine was stationed down in Guantanamo Bay, and there was several of these Marines that had come forward, not too long ago, talking about all the UFO activity that they witnessed when they were there. So much so that on the base, they thought that there could possibly be an extraterrestrial underwater base, off the coast of Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. So that's an interesting story and case. In addition to that, there was a case with a B-29 bomber, 1952, flying over the Gulf of Mexico, south of Louisiana, heading west towards Texas. And they encountered, I think they said 15 to maybe 20 spherical orbs of light flying, I think they said up to 5,400 miles an hour. Some of them, one of them they clocked at almost 9,000 miles an hour. And it was just an amazing case. The cool thing about it is that these orbs all combined into what they deemed a mothership. They called it a mothership, and they blended in and conjoined with this mothership before flying off and flying away and disappearing. That's a pretty cool case. Not too far from that, decades later, about 80 miles south of New Orleans is an oil rig. And 2017, it was March of 2017, there was a supply ship out at the oil rig, and they saw this huge 150 to 200 foot craft come out of the Gulf of Mexico, hover, and then take off. There was 4 witnesses on the boat. There were even more witnesses on the oil rig. And the cool thing is the ship showed no signs of dripping water off of the hull or off of its material, whatever it is. So it's like hydrophobic, just whatever it is. It could be gravitational. The gravitational field that it generates for itself possibly could be how it just repels the water, so to speak, and the water doesn't even engage with it. It's interesting. That's a cool story. And what I was doing is I was going around cities around the coast. And, then I Googled Corpus Christi UFO just to see what would happen, right? And I came across this Mexican crash site southeast of Chihuahua, Mexico. But here's what happened. this UFO was coming in at high speeds off the Gulf of Mexico toward Corpus Christi, darted south into Mexico, and then, further, a little bit northwest further into Mexico. What ended up happening is it collided with a single engine plane, and this is 1974, mind you, and both crashed. And I believe the pilot died. The disc, it was a flying disc that crashed. They were announcing it on the Mexican airwaves. The Mexican military shut down the airwaves and were heading out toward the crash site. U.S. military caught wind of it over in Texas, sent choppers into Mexico over the border to go retrieve the craft. And allegedly, when they arrived, they saw the craft, they saw the plane wreckage, but they also saw Mexican military vehicles, and the Mexican military members were in their vehicles, sitting in their vehicles, dead, allegedly. And what the U.S. did is they took the craft via helicopter, flew it back over the American border, and allegedly it went to Wrights-Patterson Air Force Base. But that's an interesting story too. Interesting case. And again, I mentioned these cases in the jolt.net latest article. Then, then there's some other towns along the Mexican Gulf Coast. Tampico, for example. Tampico apparently has been a UFO hotspot for decades to the locals. People seeing lots of UFOs, tic-tac shaped UFOs, oblong white UFOs coming in and out of the water. And so much so, there was so much activity that those people who live there, there's groups of people that believe that there's an extraterrestrial underwater base off the coast of Tampico. And they believe that this base protects them from hurricanes, because they had 2 hurricanes that were coming toward them with almost a direct hit, and had veered away when the hurricane got to this spot where they think the alien base was. So, I mean, that's an interesting story. Continuing down around the Gulf is Campeche, Mexico, and that's another hot spot. And what was going on in Campeche? Let's look and see here. Campeche. 11 UFOs were seen and recorded by Mexican Air Force pilots on March 5th, 2004, over the Gulf of Mexico. That incident and the video was reported by Mexican national news and on a major news outlet around the world. But they were flying at 11,000 feet and accelerated from 0 to 600 kilometers per hour in a matter of seconds. It's another interesting story there too. And again, it's Mexican military, and there's so many of these stories. The Yucatan Peninsula. There's a mountain in the Yucatan that people go to for UFO observation, because they see UFOs out over the Gulf of Mexico. And they observe them from the top of this mountain in the Yucatan. And so, I mean, I'm gonna dive into that and start looking into that, because that's interesting as well. Yeah, but check it out if you want to check out the article on the Jolt. It's interesting, and I want to start focusing on my own backyard. I want to actually start to reach out to people, just in my area, and see if I can meet some people that share an interest and want to, start maybe diving into some of these cases together. Should be interesting. I'll see if anything comes out of it. But otherwise, that's all I have for now. That's my week. My week's been busy. Work's been crazy. So I don't have a lot of time to put into this. I wish I could put a hell of a lot more into it and do a hell of a lot more research. But unfortunately, I just don't have, a whole heck of a lot of free time. But anyway, but that's it. I hope all is well. Hope everyone has a great weekend. And keep on keeping along.